Delta variant infections continue to rise. Many across the state remain unvaccinated. How one group is working to bring options to your home. And a community garden in the Brazos Valley is working to grow more than just fruits and vegetables. We have the details. Your KRHD News starts right now.
Connecting the Brazos Valley. This is KRHD News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Hallie Jones. COVID cases are on the rise again, and this time it's a stronger, more contagious variation of the virus, while many remain unvaccinated. And as KRHD News investigator Dennis Turner shows us, this comes at a time where options at home have become more available.
Thought I'd do the right thing.
Until very recently, you could count Michael Pfeiffer as one of the millions of Americans unvaccinated against COVID.
I was waiting to see what really happened.
Seeing the spread of the Delta variant caused him some concern, but he says a conversation with a neighbor sealed the deal.
My neighbor worries about me, and she made me call.
A pharmacy that makes house calls hooked him up. Dr. Krhd Reisinger of Austin says at the end of May, the Delta variant only comprised 3% of COVID infections. But by the end of July, the CDC reported Delta caused more than 83% of infections.
It's because it's more easily transmissible between people. This variant is thought to be 60% more transmissible. And number two, it's thought to possibly cause more serious COVID-19 disease in those who are not fully vaccinated.
She says research shows Delta doubles its infection rate every 11 days, and that every person with Delta will infect between 1 and 2 people on average.
There are mutations on the spike protein that change the way the virus survives in the airway, and it's able to replicate faster. Another description is that the Delta variant is stickier, and therefore the virus can enter your airway more effectively and fight off immune cells. Also, swab tests have indicated that the Delta variant causes a higher viral load more quickly, so people spread more of the virus more effectively to others.
And she says having had COVID already apparently provides little to no protection against Delta. And here's another problem for doctors in emergency rooms and everywhere else. The Delta variant often doesn't present the same symptoms. For instance, we may keep our sense of smell and not cough as much, but we will have a sore throat, a runny nose, and a fever. Good news is doctors believe the Johnson & Johnson vaccine provides about 60% protection, while Moderna and Pfizer vaccines are believed to provide almost 90% protection against Delta.
It's important to note that if only one dose of the mRNA vaccine is taken, this effectiveness falls to 33%.
And in Israel, that nation has just begun a booster campaign. Doctors in the U.S. will watch closely.
With no severe adverse events. And now we're rolling out a national third dose campaign.
It comes as the New York Times reports some Americans have crossed state lines to get a booster shot, though doctors here say few, if any of us, need one yet.
And we're seeing, a lot of individuals who are, just really concerned and afraid of the Delta variant and catching it.
Which explains why governments and businesses want to get vaccinations closer to homes of people like Mike Pfeiffer.
I didn't want to be one of them people that are spreading it or anything like that, so I thought I'd do the right thing and just be on the safe side and get it.
Exactly the way local and national leaders hope the rest of us think about COVID. Dennis Turner, 25 News.
Tyson's Foods is requiring COVID-19 vaccines for all U.S. employees. Employees at U.S. offices will need to be vaccinated by October 1st. Frontline employees have a November 1st deadline. Once fully vaccinated, employees will get a $200 bonus. Currently, Tyson says nearly half of its 120,000 employees have already been vaccinated. And while some companies like Tyson are requiring the vaccine, many large companies still are not. Amazon says it will not require hourly workers to get vaccinated. Walmart had a similar stance but has changed it to require workers at its headquarters to get vaccinated. According to surveys by Gartner, fewer than 10% of employees plan to require workers to get vaccinated. In the meantime, the U.S. has donated more than 110 million doses of COVID vaccines to dozens of countries. So far, the U.S. has shipped more vaccines around the world than any other country. 60 countries have received donations through the COVAX program. At the end of this month, the U.S. will ship 500 million more doses of the Pfizer vaccine to low-income countries. These additional doses are part of a surplus stock. And for the latest about the COVID-19 Delta variant and how it's affecting us in the Brazos Valley, connect with KRHD online. It's simple. Pull out your phones, open the camera app, and scan the QR code that you see on your screen. A notification banner will show up at the top of your screen on your phone. Tap that banner. It'll take you to a link to access our website and all of our social media accounts as well. A community garden at the Brazos Valley Food Bank is doing more than just producing fruits and vegetables. KRHD reporter Rebecca Fiedler shows us how a special program is inspiring growth from more than just plants.
The Brazos Valley Food Bank runs a multi-bed garden which is tended to by clients of the food bank's Together We Grow program, as well as by volunteers from the local community. This garden does more than feed people. In addition to feeding food bank clients, these fruits and veggies serve as teaching tools. The garden is tended to by volunteers and managed by members of the food bank's Together We Grow program, a 5-week course on job skills and long goal achievement.
That really helps prime folks for their career, not just a job in the community, but their career, something that's going to help folks not just, find something that will pay the bills at the end of the day, but help where would you like to see yourself 5-10 years from now?
Clients learn leadership and management skills by overseeing community volunteers. Volunteers like the Neal family of College Station. This local mom and her 5 children have been volunteering at the garden every week this summer, plucking weeds and planting seeds.
They welcome kids of all ages, so I thought it's perfect. We can be outdoors and do something together.
While the garden teaches food bank clients about team management, Neal says it's actually been teaching her little ones too. The family have no prior experience working in a garden, so the Neals are learning about plant growth and harvest, plus a little something about the act of volunteering.
Often the kids will ask where, do we get to take the food home? And I'm like, no, it's not for us. It's for other people who maybe don't get the opportunity to go to the grocery store and get fresh produce. They can come here and this produce they will get to take home and enjoy.
As the garden continues to expand and bring in more clients and volunteers, Elena Jalefka says she hopes that its bounty and benefits can inspire a new relationship between Aggie locals and fresh food.
We want to grow things that are accessible, but also things that are appealing and want to make people explore produce.
You can find out more about Together We Grow by visiting the food bank's website at bvfb.org. Reporting in Bryan, Rebecca Fiedler, KRHD News.
Meanwhile, a team of scientists led by Texas A&M AgriLife experts are examining ways to improve plant roots by utilizing a medical procedure typically done on humans. A newly developed MRI machine called Risotrin was invented to take high-resolution images of a plant roots growing in soil. This in the hopes of creating crops that can take up more water from the soil and increase crop resiliency during lengthy drought seasons.
Our goal is to develop crops that has a much stronger and deeper root system. We want crops with this larger root system because the roots can extract water and nutrients from deeper soil layers, and the crops become more drought resilient.
While the research team is currently doing research on sorghum crops and improving its efficiency, the team hopes to also improve to root systems of corn crops as well.
With Americans spending billions every year to fix our cell phones, the right to repair movement is gaining a lot of ground. Chris Conti shows us how the Federal Trade Commission is now stepping in to make sure you can repair that phone wherever you want.
We've all been there when our beloved handheld device is sent to the technological great beyond. Every day, Americans dispose of nearly 400,000 cell phones.
It's an aftermarket screen.
But Danny spends his days working to repair phones that otherwise might be lost.
Not everyone can afford to buy a brand new phone, right? And not everyone can afford to pay for Apple Care or like insurance or something.
It's not an easy job. Phone manufacturers do their best to make it incredibly difficult for third-party repair people like Danny to get parts and even access manuals, meaning the cost you pay for repair goes up.
We also have like different qualities of screen. So sunscreen, we buy it for cheaper.
But all of that is about to change.
We're hurting the environment, it's draining our pocketbooks, and it doesn't need to be that way.
Nathan Proctor is a right to repair advocate, a movement pushing for consumers to be able to do whatever they please when it comes to repairing electronic equipment like cell phones.
The problem is they sold it, we bought it, it's ours now, and they don't get to tell us what to do.
The whole movement is gaining national attention. In early July, President Biden signed an executive order asking the Federal Trade Commission to tackle, quote, unfair anti-competitive restrictions on third-party repair. And now the FTC will enforce that order.
There's a lot of public interest impacts, when the system is so absurd.
But how will enforcement work? The government agency is mainly relying on you, the consumer, to report issues to ftc.gov. Like having a company say you voided a warranty by having one of those third-party repair companies open and fix your phone. The order will allow you to take your phone to any repair shop, not just one authorized by your phone manufacturer. It also means parts and manuals have to be made more available to any repair store, making them cheaper.
We've been working to kind of create a campaign where people understood, hey, you know what? This isn't right. No one should tell me how I should and when I should be able to fix stuff.
Back at Danny's repair table, he knows not every American can afford to replace a $900 phone.
It's not like everyone can go and buy another phone as soon as they break it. I mean, that doesn't make any sense unless you're a millionaire.
His hope is that enforcement of right to repair laws will keep this vital piece of technology affordable for everyone.
You should keep on fixing your phone until it's really, really time to upgrade it. This is good. It's working now.
I'm Chris Conti.
It has been partly cloudy here across the area today, and there's been one or two small little showers out there. But other than that, things have been pretty quiet across our region. And we are continuing with partly to mostly cloudy skies, and it is a little bit cooler out there. Not much. 90 degrees, but look at that. It still feels like 98 with that dew point of 73. There is a north wind at 10 miles per hour, and that's going to drag in slightly drier air over the next 24 hours, and hopefully that'll help out that feeling just a little bit. But it's still pretty toasty out there. Clouds and radar showing that we've had again an isolated shower or two, especially west of Bryan College Station back toward Caldwell, and those died out as they made their way down to the south, and there's not too much left for this afternoon and evening as things are going to be pretty quiet out there. Most of it's been over into Louisiana and then down across South Texas as well. You can see the drier air here across North Texas and West Texas where there's the lack of clouds. So let's take a look at our future track showing any isolated showers will be gone as we head through tonight into Wednesday morning. Then as we move into Wednesday afternoon, not too much out there. There could be an isolated storm or two. We'll put a 20% token shot in there, but most of us going to be on the drier side. Then as we get into Thursday, there could be a slightly better chance of an isolated storm, but again, Isolated is the key word here. It's still going to be hot and humid here across the region, but seasonably hot, not overly hot for us and what it could be this time of year. So tonight, temperatures will be into the low to mid 70s for us. We'll go lower 70s up to the north as that drier air moves in, mid 70s across the southern and central areas. And then tomorrow, still below normal, with highs into the low to mid 90s for us. And checking out your forecast, we will see those temperatures continuing to climb up just a little bit, up to 95 degrees on Friday, 96 Saturday, 97 Sunday. There's your isolated storm chances there. And next week looks pretty warm as well, with highs in the mid to upper 90s.
Online hate and misinformation have become more of a problem amid the pandemic. And this is something the Centers for Countering Digital Hate has been continuing to track. A new report details the amount of anti-Semitic content social platforms fail to do anything about. From May to June, CCDH found more than 700 posts containing hateful comments targeted at the Jewish community, all across Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. Social media platforms took no action on 84% of those posts. Meanwhile, the Associated Press just helped a gardening group on Facebook reinstate its account after it was flagged for talking about garden hose. It's just one of the many examples of how automated moderators can mess up.
They've tried to reduce their costs by using automation to replace, human beings' basic ability to be able to spot hate when they see it.
CCDH says the algorithms that social platforms have in place are also to blame. They're set up to push the most interacted user content to the top. The anti-Semitic posts they found were viewed at least 7 million times.
Eyeballs are eyeballs as far as they're concerned. And if they're watching content, they're consuming ads. And so that's an initial revenue flow. The second way is, ironically, they actually benefit from the controversy over their failure to moderate. Because where do we all go to debate these things? It's social media again.
While platforms aren't likely to change these algorithms, something they could do is hire more human moderators. CCDH says in the past, companies have argued it would be too expensive, but now there's less of an excuse.
For companies that have doubled their profits in the pandemic year because we were stuck at home consuming ads on their platforms, it would seem the smallest thing that they could do to try and pay back to the societies from which they've extracted such wealth.
CCDH says they'd also like to see accounts that post hateful content banned and those posts taken down. Well, federal agencies responsible for protecting Americans' personal data are receiving a low grade for falling short. This story tops the news feed. In a report by the Senate Homeland Security Committee, the agencies earned a C grade. The report concluded Americans' personal information remains at risk after a slew of high-profile cyber attacks. The FBI is considering a new policy after its agents were caught using provocative photos of coworkers to entice sexual predators. According to a Watchdog report, the women in the photos were fully clothed with faces blurred, but they weren't authorized to participate in undercover investigations. The Watchdog recommended the FBI establish a policy to get consent and notify managers in these cases. Well, a policy allowing Border Protection officials to expel undocumented migrants to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in holding facilities has been extended. The CDC says the policy will remain in effect until there is no longer a danger to public health. Children and some families are exempt. Well, a new initiative is looking to rate colleges based on how valuable their programs are to students. Columbia, George Washington University, and the National Student Legal Defense Network came up with the metrics. They're looking at improvements in earnings after completing a college program and the ability to pay back the money used to pay for an education. The goal is to provide hard data to policymakers so they can consider how to hold colleges accountable when they don't deliver to vulnerable students. Finally, in our lineup, overdraft fees bring in billions of dollars every year. A second major financial institution is now dropping those fees, what it would take for other banks to follow. More financial institutions are dropping overdraft fees. They're usually about $35 after running a card with no balance. Alliant Credit Union will no longer charge customers for this type of short-term loan. This comes just 2 months after Ally, an online-only bank, also made the same move. In 2020, customers in the U.S. were charged more than $12 billion in overdraft fees. That's according to data from FinHealth.
Overdraft fees are highly concentrated among families living on the edge. 1 in 12 families in America pay $350 a year or more in overdraft fees.
Aaron Klein has researched what overdraft fees mean for banks. He's found these overdraft fees are purely for profit, but don't make up a large amount of revenue for most banks.
My research has found a small handful of banks who make a majority of their profit just on overdraft fees alone. And without strong regulation from the bank regulators, this is going to unfortunately probably continue.
And now that we've seen some financial institutions drop this fee, it's possible that other banks could follow or even lower the fee. A bill recently introduced in Congress would make it illegal for banks to charge more than one fee per month.
Here are some of the stories we're working on for Krhd News at 6. After many families pulled their children out of public schools during the pandemic, one Brazos Valley School District says they're seeing enrollment numbers rise again. We'll explain why some parents are sending their kids back to school. Plus, an entire Texas family who came down with the COVID-19 Delta variant has a grim warning for those not taking it serious. These stories and more coming up at the top of the hour. World News Tonight is just ahead, and we're back in 30 minutes for KRHD News at 6. Until then, have a great evening.